Corruption goes to the highest levels, including the United Nations. It is mainly controlled by various groups in the background. Whether you call them corporations or not is another matter. But yeah, it is corrupt to the core. And the way I reference in it, if you look at an animal on a farm, everyone feeds off that animal in the community. And what you don't see are the parasites that are also feeding off that animal, right? And it's only once it's slaughtered, etc., you'll see the parasites. The problem with our nation is every 400 years, these parasites come in and feed and feed and feed until in the end, there's nothing left of the host, right? And that's exactly what's going on today.
Mm. Well, I mean, people that do follow the kind of globalist elite, the whole agenda 2030, globalist organizations, people who are skeptical about COVID lockdowns and jabs and things like this, it all seems to come back to the opinion that there is a very small group of people, very elite, who control what's going on at the moment. And it's not just laws and things, it's massive events that we would consider historical, like wars and, like we just said, pandemics and things like this. How, not how big of a threat, because obviously it's a huge threat, but how do you see us getting our way out of this, if at all?
Well, the answer is very simple to get out of this, and for I'm talking about for us as a country, meaning England. Avoid the Acts of Union, put our own people back into Parliament, and there are various ways of doing it. The English Constitution Party, for example, we don't have whips. Our manifesto is the English Constitution. There's none of this. We have this policy, that policy. We're about self-determination and putting the power back to the people. And you would go back to an English confederacy where each shire would in effect govern itself, right? Within a set of laws, which are the English laws and the constitutional laws. As long as they don't go outside of that, they're fine. So there are easy ways of sorting it out. But getting back, it is simple. It's simple, but they won't allow this message to be put to people. They've brainwashed. Just to give you an example, and it's the easiest way to express this to you is to say this. The USSR, the Soviet Union, in the Soviet Union, 1991, they dissolved the Union, right? Prior to that, everyone was called, because Joseph Stalin he was the Commissar of Identity, right? So he created Soviet. And for 70 years, people have been brainwashed and brainwashed and brainwashed. You are a Soviet. You are a Soviet. If you went up in front of any court in the USSR and stood up in front of a Soviet judge and said, I am a Russian, right? You went to the gulag.
Wow.
And that's exactly what they do to me, right? All of the time. They take me down on platforms because what I'm telling people is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Avoid the Acts of Union, and you will eliminate British national identity, because there is no such thing. It is a union. It is not a country. And then once people realise, you then go back to your national identities, and you will go back then to your shire identities. So you'll be talking about Yorkshire, Lancashire, Norfolk, Devon, right? Everyone will understand that they belong to that community. And the only time those areas come together in defence of England, not other nations, certainly not Israel, right? So I'm not a Zionist. I'm not interested in Israel. I'm interested in England, right?
Yep.
So once people, and that's what people have to understand with, give you an example, the Americans, right? So Americans weren't known as Americans internally in America. They was known as Texans and Californians and Floridians, right? They wasn't known as Americans inside. They was only known as Americans outside of the USA. So USA. And the same is for the British. The British used to be known as Brits externally, even before the Acts of Union, and certainly before the British Nationality Act of 1948 and 1981. And the reason for that was because he was external. But if you spoke to anyone in this country, and more people are doing it, right? You must show your English flag, because that goes against the criminal cartels that are running this country. They're the ones who are shutting us down. That's why you're seeing councils going out pulling down English flags, because they don't want you to understand you are English.